It's playoff time here at the Esport Company for the High School League, and it's your boy Nizzy highlighting Week 6 right before we get into playoffs. We had Rocket League Division 1, and here are the matchups. Forest Hills at Hollidaysburg, Penn Trafford taking on Brothersvalley, Somerset taking on Bishop Carroll, and Gateway had the bye, but they actually had a makeup game this week. So let's take a look at our top 5 plays, starting off at number 5. It's going to be Iconic Caden of Brothersvalley getting a pinch save as the countdown was a-ticking for that number 5 play. Great save there from Iconic Caden. And our number 4 play this week is going to be Somerset's XK Bone with the double tap off the wall and in the net for that number 4. And number 3, we're moving on to PK Dill, faking everyone out, going with the fake pass, and ended up scoring that himself. Let's take a look at that again. Fakes the shot there, goes off the wall, fakes the pass there, does it all himself. No chance to make that save. And that's our number 3 play this week. Let's take a look at our number 2 play. It's Pig B doing an air dribble and a flip reset. Absolute nutcase in the air. Just handling that ball with such precision and such accuracy. Take a look at this again. A flip reset, slow that down for him. No chance to save that from Hollidaysburg. And our number 1 play of this week is going to be Somerset's Ethan. Off the wall, off the ceiling, and a pinch ball, a ground pinch that sends that dart to the back of the net. Let's take a look at this again. Absolutely calculated. Boom. Just sends that flying for that goal. Number 1 play. Forest Hills wins 3-2. Penn Trafford 3-0s Brothersvalley, and Somerset takes out Bishop Carroll, and they also beat Gateway 3-1. Here are the standings going into playoffs. It's Penn Trafford undefeated, followed closely behind by Somerset. We'll see you later. Nizzy's out.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Foof, and I'm joined in the booth by a very awesome new friend. I have Max Formal sitting with me, and we have some TEC High School League playoff action getting ready to come at you. Max, I've been waiting all day for this.
So have I. Fortunately for me, it's only been about 20 minutes since I woke up. The joys of time zones, believe it or not. But yeah, this is going to be a fun day. 3 best of 3s due to Penn Trafford earning that bye, going straight to the semifinals.
Best
so
of 5s?
We're just going to get the knock of quarterfinals. Did I say best of 3s? Did I mess up in the
because we were talking about the other game we don't want to talk about.
But yeah, sorry, 3 best of 5s. All right, not best of 3s. Although I think that could be a spoiler into some of my predictions that's going to be happening later. Yeah. Look, I'm a realist, all right. And with our first match, Hollidaysburg versus Gateway, it might be the 4th versus 5th seed. But if history is repeating itself, this could be a very fast series.
That's being the thing is you wondered when these Gators could finally get some traction. And Hollidaysburg looks incredibly strong throughout the season, but the Golden Tigers currently sitting in that 4th spot, looking down perhaps at that lower seed. You don't want to overstep when you feel like you have a good game in front of you, but the most important thing here, Max, it is win and go on, lose and go home.
Yeah, absolutely. Win this matchup. You have the honor as well of going up against, that undefeated side of Penn Trafford. So it's not really ideal in that regards, but you will never know if you don't get that chance. And even though last time these two teams did meet up, Hollidaysburg did win that one 3-0. Gateway has been on a winning streak since week 4 of this event, and they've been kind of winning every series since then. So Gateway might be the lower seed. They may have lost last time these two teams played, but this matchup, it actually could be closer than what has happened in history's past.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, especially when you talk about teams in any capacity, especially in that playoff sense, getting hot at the right times. And that seems maybe the Gateway Gators have done just that. But looking forward here, I want to look at this squad that we see being brought in by the Hollidaysburg Tigers. The Golden Tigers, very familiar squad. You've seen these 3 names before. You're going to see Haphazard Rips. You're going to see Brian Black, 31, and you're going to see Nathan. Again, these 3 worked very well at times, but it's kind of like a hit and miss. And you're wondering which team we're going to see today.
Yeah, absolutely. They haven't had that same consistency on the latter half of the season, perhaps that Gateway has had. They had some opportunities to kind of get themselves up above this seed, particularly last week, that matchup against Forest Hills, which went the distance. Had they found that victory, they would have been in a better place in the bracket, one would have to think. And those are tough losses to bounce back from. So consistency is going to be key for this squad of 3, whether or not they're going to be able to synergize with each other quite quickly into this series, because even though it is playoff Rocket League, it still is best of 5s, and you don't have a lot of room for error.
I mean, the best way it was ever pitched to me, Max, is it was a 5-game race. I mean, you only have to win 3, but it is teams trying to get as many as they can, as quick as they can, because momentum is huge if you can get it on your side early. And now looking across the pitch, you have the boys in green, the Gateway Gators, bringing in the combination of Seven Joler, Licks the Boss, and King Vix. And I've enjoyed watching this team. You talk about them having that hot run. They have evolved as this season's going on.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Again, I spent a lot of time down in Division 2, so I didn't really get to see that growth. I kind of just got to see them play a little bit at the tail end of last week against a Somerset team that was coming in very, very hot. And so they actually did fall a little bit short to that one. Technically, it was a bye for them, so it was kind of more of an exhibition match from what I gathered. Not necessarily perhaps the best way to sort of judge this team on a first impression. Somerset, by the way, they could be a sort of low-key team to maybe go all the way. I don't know. We'll get more into that later. But the point I'm trying to make is when I saw this Gateway side, I felt like I wanted a bit more. They did take a game off Somerset. Maybe they'll take game 1 off of, Hollidaysburg, because we're starting right now.
Well, 5 minutes on the clock, 6 cars on the field, and a best of 5 to be played. And already Hollidaysburg, the Golden Tigers, putting more pressure on. As Nathan looking for a shot there. It's a double commit coming on the offensive side. So a ton of pressure already starting to mount. And you have Joler trying to reply in kind and get it on this blue side for the first time of this game.
Yeah, interesting initial attack, though, coming from Hollidaysburg. I didn't really like how far forward they're playing, and that's just a misjudge from Nathan. A bit of a freebie for Joler. Opening goal goes to the team of Gateway.
So you see the 2 defenders at the midfield in a very awkward spacing, and Nathan trying to read it off the sidewall. When you come across your net, leaving the air to go push it, it is so hard to control a car, but all that matters is simple math here, Max. 1-0 lead for Gateway.
Yep, and I'm going to call that a fake, right? Because they went for the bump on the tail.
Fakes, not mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Fakes, not mistakes. Well, I only call it a fake if the defender bites. Otherwise, it's a mistake. Look,
okay.
I'm not going to sugarcoat things. This is playoff time now. If you're going to make a mistake, I'm going to be on you now. That is a great fake. Licks the Boss. Finds the read through the team. Fantastic play coming from our side.
All right, so King gets trolled. His teammate steals the goal from him, and then he circles around to steal it back. It is a legitimate, chaotic goal secured to put them up by 2.
Look, I called it at the time that Licks the Boss scored it. I stand by that.
Well, right now, it was a quick kind of blink and you miss it. 2-0 lead in the first minute, being brought away by this Gateway Gators squad. And so they are the sole owners of all of the shots in this game, all the pressure. And I'll be honest, a lot of the momentum is they have stolen a couple of boost pads, but it's just finding those offensive opportunities and converting them immediately into goals.
I also am going to be a little bit critical of Hollidaysburg's initial sort of positioning and rotational play. They kind of came at this one, I think, a little bit too eager, and that caused some unforced errors on the attacking half, which is why we saw such a fast counterattack where the players were still slightly out of position on the way back. Again, this is playoffs, so I'm going to be a little bit more critical. Haphazard in particular just seems a little bit more nervous than the other members of the team. They've been kind of cut out of position already a couple times in this opener, so they're going to be players that I'm going to be looking out for to maybe bounce back and kind of find more of that groove with the rest of the team. Calm down those nerves, get 1 or 2 good touches, and I think they'll be right back in it.
See, that's what a lot of people overlook there, Max, is they think of, oh, we got to get the goals and we need the big touches first. No, it is a positive play. That can be a clear. It can be a pass. It can just be controlling the ball on your hood, and you build off of that. As that is an unforced team bunk on the back of that play by Gateway, but it's really not adapted on. Is that both teams are such tight here on the rotations, trying to play on this ball so heavily that it just finds its way down to Hollidaysburg's end anyway.
So you've been familiar with this Hollidaysburg side a bit more.
I mean,
Solar put another one through right in front of the net. Have they consistently always rotated back into the goal itself?
So you'll see a lot of ball side rotations here. You'll watch a lot of these players looking to cut aggressively, and I don't say always, but something I always want to hark on is you want to make sure you communicate it. Because if you don't do it, you see what happens. They get really coagulated and really tight, but it works somehow in that end.
That's not what I'm seeing, though, from the Hollidaysburg right now. Every time they rotate deep, the player who's rotating back rotates through the goal itself. I've never actually seen that before. It's definitely unique. I'm not sure it's working if the scoreline is anything to go by. So I kind of want them to do a little bit more of what you're saying right now. I want them to cut a little bit earlier. I want them to challenge a little bit more. Not that they're not doing it. It's kind of been a 2-4 one-back strategy. But that one back, as you see right there, this time it was Brian who unfortunately missed it, just hasn't been consistent in finding those touches. So I don't know, Hollidaysburg, they're looking a little rough. They're looking a lot more nervous, and Gateway, all they've been doing is just collecting on these unforced mistakes, and they've got themselves a pretty comfortable lead, only a minute and a half left.
I mean, if they weren't tripping over themselves to find that shot, they might have had a 4th goal there. And so it feels like a traditional, like, straight 2-1 you'd see on an actual soccer field that's being played by this Hollidaysburg squad. And I'm just, you talk about the rotations. My question is more the offensive plays. They don't have a very consistent 1 or 2. No. And so it ends up with both players stepping up, and then it's just the last player going,
and because
that's a lot of players.
And because that last player was playing back in the goal and not at that midfield point, they were losing their possession so quickly. That said, this last attack and this current one right now, they have fixed that. They actually now are starting to play just in front of that midfield line, and it's going to put themselves in a better position moving forward. So I do think cooler heads are starting to prevail on the Hollidaysburg side. It was a rough start, yes. They're going to have opportunities the further the series does progress. But for Gateway, they did enough early to win this opening game, I dare say. 40 seconds remaining, open-looking net, yet Nathan can't push it through.
Took a hazard with the soft touch. That's a double commit as Joler and Lynx, you and I both cringing as we see 2 colored cars going for that one. As that stays in front of the net, but it goes off the crossbar, still sitting in the danger zone, but cleared out by King Vic. And so the slow play on the defensive side outlasting the offensive pressure that looked like it was for sure going to find the first blood for the team in blue.
And not to harp on the confidence game, but I'm not so sure that Gateway doesn't make those saves if they haven't already kind of secured this game 1 win or found those early goals. I think they're just playing with a bit more confidence, so much so that they triple commit at times. I mean, if that's not confidence, I don't know what is. I think a humbling might do them a bit good right now, because Gateway has not played that perfect game either yet. They've had their moments, but they've had way more scoring opportunities as Lix the Boss gets that goal back that was stolen from them earlier.
I will say Hollidaysburg quietly found themselves back into the shooting game, rattling off 9 comparatively to the 10. But at the end of the day, it's who has the most in that goal column. And Gateway had all of them, 4-0. And it'll be like, okay, so it'll be an outstanding defensive performance for Gateway. They only had 4 saves compared to the 5. So it was post plays, it was mistouches, it was going off of the crossbar. You need to be more consistent. You talk about it, they stepped up in the 3rd, they walked forward. They just need to do it now in the earlier stages of the game.
Yeah, I mean, my brain is just going to keep going back to Brian Black's post shot on the open net. Like, that one is one that you want back for a team that's still trying to find that confidence and find that groove. those are the goals that can come back to haunt you. Now, at that stage of the game, it did feel like it was pretty much Gateway's to take. However, you still want that momentum moving forwards right now. I do think Hollidaysburg is on the upward trajectory. I doubt they're going to get shut out again if they play the same way that they played for the final minute and a half that we saw in game number 2. And so it's tough for me to say, oh yeah, Gateway has this series under lock and key. I actually think this is going to be a lot closer moving forward than a lot of people can suspect, as long as, you know, Hollidaysburg believe they can still stay in it. And that's going to be, I think, a real challenge for them. In a best of 5, dropping that first game, it's always tough to bounce back. They've got 2 more games to do it.
Well, I like to kind of hearken any series in esports, and that's just not just one game, that it's a length of games. You're building an actual house. This is the foundations being laid forth right now, and this could be the foundations of a team that falls a little bit short or that is able to come back after having an unfavorable game 1. Whereas on the side of Gateway, you talk about it, far from perfect, but enough on the offensive end to get an early lead, and then just resting on the defensive laurels and finding one at 0 seconds puts them at that 4-0 mark. And so we're wondering who can find that first bit of control here in game number 2.
And again, something that you could sort of look as a positive for Hollidaysburg. They did something that a lot of teams, even at the top level, struggles to do, and that is a mid-game adjustment to their play style. Normally, it's sort of in between games you'll see that adjustment. They did that at the tail end of the last game. Meanwhile, Gateway, they're still triple committing when they see shooting opportunities. This could be the counterattack. This could be the moment. Joler, first one to make the read off that backboard. Brian Black, though, should be able to set something up. Nathan got bumped around in the middle of the field, couldn't get to the strike in time, and it's a missed opportunity for Hollidaysburg.
See, they're very much firm believers here, Max, of the idea that you don't have to play defense as long as you scored. And unfortunately, with no score coming off of that third car, it's a mad dash backwards. But here we are, the first minute has passed, and it's not a 2-goal scoreline. So already a better spot for this team of Hollidaysburg, whereas Gateway, they still had some pressure. That's an opportunity for Brian, but immediately denied by Joler and company. They're looking to find one of their own.
And this is exactly why I was saying, you know, Hollidaysburg definitely is still in this one, because I haven't seen any real strategy change from the Gateway side. Why should they when they went 4-0? But we're seeing a similar approach, you know, really tight spacing, sort of attack the ball at any opportunity, even if it means double or at times triple committing, especially while on the attack. And I feel like it's only a matter of time before Hollidaysburg is going to find that opening to sort of counter it. Now, oh, this is a different look from them. They actually spaced themselves out for the first time. As soon as I say that, of course, that's when they decide to go opposite ends of the pitch. Maybe they're listening, I don't know, but that's an adjustment that I do want to see.
See, I loved it. One team spread out, the other got really tight and almost triple committed on the goal line. So, you know, an interesting kind of push and pull, turn and find their different angles. The shot being denied there by Nathan. Bryan putting it back up into the air, but no real follow-up means this is not as threatening of a touch as it could have been. Joler off the ceiling, trying to get something going here, but I believe he's the lone Gator on the field, and he's going to be taking his time getting the demo, getting the boost, and getting the shot here as well.
Yeah, it was a really good play by Joler. However, I think King Vic might be a little bit rattled right now. He's making some strange commits, like almost being chased by a phantom player. It feels like Gateway is playing as if Hollidaysburg is still challenging every single touch like what we saw at the tail end of game 1, when that's not always been the case. And that's how come we see 2 unforced errors in a row. Fortunately, Joler there to bail them out. That was very spooky.
So that was a huge bump with no follow-up on the side of Hollidaysburg. So either non-communicated or was not acted upon. And that bump opened up the door for that unforced error on the back end. No one taking full advantage of it. So we still sit at a 0-0 scoreline. And I'm not going to say that the defenses exactly have been standing taller, as they have been looking good, but the offensive have certainly cooled off as the shots are becoming less and less. That's going to be on if Joler doesn't get back to it, and credited not with a save but a clear.
I have been so impressed with Joler's play for the most part, on the defensive side in particular from Gateway. This player doesn't just make that save. They often find a touch as well to ensure that either they stay with the ball, or one of their teammates is going to have the first opportunity to get to it. Just be mindful of that first defensive touch that you see from Joler. It's been very consistent so far through this game, and it's been a big reason why Hollidaysburg hasn't been able to sustain an attack.
Another reason is you talked about those long rotations back to that. It's going 1 straight to 3 instead of a 1 to 2 or a 2 to 3. And so you have so much of that field to cover, and you go back to that boost instead of taking a lot of the small pads. And so I think whoever takes the most advantage of these small pads in the middle of the field will probably have that end result that they want. But Vic clearing it back into the corner. So a bit of table tennis bouncing back and forth, and we're just volleying it, sending it one way and now going back to the other. Is Nathan looking for a flip reset, but getting reset on haphazardly going for that touch there, but not being punished. Now half a minute left to be played and still 0-0.
As we see a shot coming from Nathan, will be right into Joler. And again, it was just placed in a perfect spot for the defense to continue to find that read. Demo from Nathan, though, will stop the counterattack. And Joler, as well as the boss, are kind of playing chase right now. Double commit, though, into the corner means there's no pass across the middle, and Hollidaysburg can't do anything except for buy some time. 12 seconds left in regulation. The boss is just going to throw one down, maybe set something up for the rest of the team. Joler, the player to look out for, though, is just now passing that midfield line, has a chance. The ball is a little bit too high, and we may have our first overtime.
See, I heard him going up, and I was wondering when he'd come into that frame, but the ball finds its way down. No winner in regulation here, Formal, so it stands up to see who can find that golden goal as the clock now counts upwards instead of downwards.
Yeah, it's 0-0-2, the best overtime score, dare I say it, and it's a pretty critical one as well. Should Gateway find this match point already, pretty critical that Hollidaysburg keeps this series alive by finding a goal for themselves. They're on the attack at the moment, yet it's Joler who'll take it over the midfield line. Ball has a chance to waterfall down. The pinch actually causes it to fall in the middle of the field, yet the King can't quite find contact. Neither can the boss. 2 unforced errors. Joler once more in that third man position, bails them out for the time being, yet the rest of Gateway has to fall back for boost.
I have a question. What do you think the hierarchy is there between a king and a boss on the same team? Is that what is saved by Brian at the last moment? That's a miss at midfield. This could be an opportunity, but Joler wins the touch and has too much speed, but the shot going off to the right. He caught the tires and pushed it into the corner. The attack still on it, still floating outside his goal. He's back to soft touch from Licks, but denied by Hap. His drip.
Also, to answer your question before, obviously King, because Licks the boss was the one who had their goal stolen, right? So clearly they're at the bottom of the hierarchy table. I think we figured that out. Back in game one, Nathan with a chance straight down the middle, just didn't have the speed to beat out the boss.
In the corner.
In the corner, and that's going to be it. Haphazard gets credit for the overtime goal.
Haphazard reading it right. All 3 orange cars forcing their way into the corner, and it was a bump coming from Nathan. He had the pass. He opens the door, and it's put home here. And Hollidaysburg able to answer back and find the only goal of game 2.
We got a series on our hands, and I mean, again, this is what we sort of expected when we saw the adjustments come through from Hollidaysburg halfway through game number 1. Gateway was still making those same mistakes where Hollidaysburg seemed to start to get that edge strategically. Now, that was a low shot percentage game, like a low shot game in general, only 5 shots inside, even with that overtime. However, if we were able to track sort of the ball possession, I feel like it'd be about 55-60% Hollidaysburg on Gateway's side of the field that time around, because they weren't dropping all the way back to play defense. They were more willing to contest in the middle of the field. And although Joler could find some passes to teammates defensively, they only really found success when Joler kind of took it themselves past that midfield line. And then the boss and King Vic, they weren't really in position that often to follow it up. Still time to adjust from that. This series is far from over. However, definitely advantage back to Team Hollidaysburg.
I think the Golden Tigers have done a lot, which you asked. You talk about them rotating a little bit cleaner, but they are also playing confident in the challenges. And you talk about Joler having it on his car to start the offense. He needs to start and he needs to end it if he's going to be that star player that he has been for this squad in this series. But you need to have Licks kind of step up. You need to have King step up so that way they can get that 1-2-1 going, or have their own pressures on the back end, because we saw it was only 2 players having the shots on the side of Gateway, and immediately Nathan and company letting to find another opportunity, not letting off where they left off.
I liked how Brian tried to follow it up. Unfortunately, with that whiff, that's going to open the doorway for Joler, and it's going to be a 1-0 lead for Gateway.
I mean, Licks just running it up this backboard. If there is no real pressure on it, it just is free real estate for the offensive player with the ball, setting it right behind the goalkeeper. 16 seconds in, and it's Gateway up by 1.
That said, if I'm going to be critical of the goal, it was still a triple commit when it probably didn't need to be. One defensive touch, it would have gone back the other way. Oh no, haphazard.
I mean,
unfortunate.
It is. That's the best way you can put it. Is that one goes just ping-ponging, pinball-esque around the middle of the field, then finds its way off of Vic's Phoenix to just shoot straight down that midfield line behind haphazard to now make it a 2-goal lead once again before the first half minute has even gone off of this clock in Game 3.
And those kinds of mistakes happen when you lose track of where your opponents are on the field. At that situation, haphazard was already committing to a bit more of a rounder approach for the ball. Had they seen the attacker coming, they would have been able to straighten themselves out before the ball wound up behind them. Unfortunate mistake, but great job from Gateway to capitalize on it. And now with the 2-goal lead, we saw what they did in game number 1, where they sort of were just able to control the tempo from that point moving forward till the tail end of it all. At this stage, though, Nathan kind of leading to charge. Again, Gateway, they're just swarmed around the ball. All three of them, they're spacing so tight. I want to see him slow it down.
The demo?
At those demos, that should have been in, but a fantastic save from Nathan saves the day.
There was no follow-up touch. The demo was huge. If that shot comes off of the demo immediately, that goes in, but with no more momentum on that ball, it is saved by Nathan at that last moment. And now it's up to Hollidaysburg to try and find a goal to bite into this lead and break it back down to 1. Licks 50'd hard there, a double commit on the defensive side by the Golden Tigers, but Brian is there to clean it up and put it all the way down on Gateway's end. The demo kind of releasing some of this pressure that's beginning to mount as the Gators looking to find their second and third touch and get it across this midfield line securely.
So something that I'm noticing from Gateway that is probably going to have Hollidaysburg a little bit more nervous defensively moving forward is they're not trying to rely on the corner to set up their passes if they don't have to. There's been a lot of just touches straight towards the goal relatively consistently. It seems like Gateway, they'd rather take the shot than find the pass off the backboard or set up through the corner. They just want to go when they see that opening. At the moment, though, stuck on defense. We're not going to see it just yet. This attack rotation should continue. As Nathan gets in the way of their teammate, and then a double commit in the middle of the field. I don't really know how they recovered that, but hey, credit to Hollidaysburg. They're still on the attacking side.
I mean, that is the old adage of making a bad thing worse, and just luckily, nothing bad coming out of it here, as that is just a ton of boost being burned by that Octane, though. Such a valuable resource when the ball's beginning to get higher and higher up the air and starting to get higher and higher in speed, because both of these teams are trying to pick up the pace and find the right angles. Gateway already enjoying that 2-goal lead in Hollidaysburg in a spot once again that they were in game 1, trying to find some way to get back in this.
Joler, again, a great defensive touch. If that ball goes anywhere but the corner, that one was a goal straight up. So good read off the backboard. Now a chance to clear it. DeBoss beats out Brian in the 1v1. However, no follow-up this time around. More content to play a bit further back. Gateway has been very conservative since scoring their second goal. They only send one player forward at a time, yet it's working for them as Joler makes the one player work. 3-0 lead for Gateway.
I mean, Joler at one point had 3 defenders between him and the net, and they all slid into the corner, all following that ball's momentum, and that opens up the net. Joler takes full advantage of it. It's 3-0.
And that's unfortunate because, again, kind of highlighted this earlier in the cast. Like, they're not going to play through the corner. They're not going to play the backboard. If they see that net, it's going to be a shot every time coming from the Gateway side. So a bit unfortunate. Hollidaysburg doesn't make the read on this instance. 90 seconds left in this game. Gateway, they're looking to advance to match point. They could even find another goal right here as Licks to Boss doesn't make contact. Joler tried to slow it down. Instead, we go the other way.
Back into this backboard attempt. Nathan stalled out there by Vic. Brian putting it up. He's got it behind Licks. That's going to sneak through, but Licks somehow getting bumped into that save, making enough of a touch to put it back onto Joler's nose and back into this Golden Tigers in. Licks on the offensive side now trying to get something to fall for him, but unable to get a shot falling through. But it's just more of this clock continuing to disappear. It's becoming harder and harder for a comeback to happen.
In this game, absolutely. It's kind of in those dire situations where this attack has to bear fruition right now. Brian leading the charge. Joler, it's an awkward touch, but everyone too far back. Nathan and Haphazard, each on their own side of the field. Haphazard, in fact, sitting in the goal, which is not what you want to see when down by 3 with under a minute to go, especially if you're going to miss the ball. Oh, it's all disaster for Hollidaysburg at the end of game 3.
I mean, chaos brings opportunity, but that's not the chaos you want to see on the side of the Golden Tigers if you are one of their fans. I mean, that is just unfortunate. As now that is a goal being scored by Gateway.
Yeah, and that's going to be the nail in the coffin for this one. 4-0 up Gateway. They're going to be advancing to match point. And it's strange to me because I still feel strategically a lot of what Hollidaysburg was trying to do for the first half of this game, I would argue was correct. I wouldn't mind if they played a bit further forward of the second half as soon as they were down. But it seems like Hollidaysburg, they kind of need the game to stay in that neutral state, or they need to have that lead. Otherwise, they'll start to sort of doubt their positioning and err on the side of caution, which is just not going to advance you through this playoffs. You need to be willing to take those risks and take those chances. And Gateway, to their detriment, sometimes takes one too many chances, but in games 1 and game 3, they've made it work. That's their second 4-0 shutout in this series.
You know, just the old odd game buffs, I guess, but 3 for 3 is Joler and 1 for 1 is King Vic. So pretty good shooting, all things considered. 4 for 7. And Hollidaysburg once again held scoreless as they're running what answer they're going to have for this Gateway squad.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game number 4, that is for sure. Hollidaysburg, I'm hoping, can find a bit more space to challenge, particularly when on the attack right now. Don't be afraid to get a bit more physical down there. When I'm looking at Gateway, it's still not a perfect series for them. I still want to see a bit more follow-up when they're able to create space on their attacking half. I think defensively, Gateway has been really, really strong. They haven't needed to convert that to offensive pressure as much, but that has been an area where they've been lacking. I don't mind if Gateway is going to spread out the field a little bit more as well. They keep going for these powerful shots when really tightly spaced, which is usually a good way to lose possession. If you want the power shots, you need to spread out a little bit more. So I'm hoping to see a bit more of a wider approach coming from the Gateway side.
It's more or less just the fundamentals, you know, having proper spacing, respecting the Rocket League triangle, you know, that is how you will have very consistent and solid offensive plays, and defensive plays is the rotating around that triangle. And at points, the triangle is incredibly obtuse, and at points, it's incredibly acute. You know, it's just an interesting amorphous blob at times, but right now it is a match point game here for Gateway. Win one and they are moving on. Hollidaysburg, though, needs to win this if they want to force it to 5.
And again, the reason why being kind of critical of these teams, A, it's playoffs, B, win this series, you're up against the undefeated Penn Trafford, right? Like, you're going up what was the best of the best during the season, where these types of mistakes could get you eaten alive. Licks the boss, though, does it themselves for this first goal. They found the clear, they found the follow-up, and they get the point.
Yep, just a nice touch there to take it off of the crossbar and bang it down and in. Beautiful opener, better placement, and a solid start here for Gateway.
The exact start that this team was looking for, and we know how well this Gateway side can do shutting down any attacks, usually until finally the pass play comes through. Our first pass of the afternoon, and it's Nathan who gets the goal.
Yep, it's all 3 players being put to the test there on the side of the Golden Tigers. It's 1, 2, 3, and easy math says that's how you get a 1-1 game.
That's probably my favorite goal of the series thus far, though, because of the passing play, because of the utilization of the backboard. There were defenders there in position to make that read. They just were straight up beaten for once, and it's nice to see a goal earned on merit as opposed to capitalization from an unforced error. Both are equally valid, don't get me wrong, but this is a good sign for Hollidaysburg moving forward, because now they should have that confidence that, yes, we can beat Gateway if we can set ourselves up, and they could be set up again right here.
Ball now back in the corner, but a very large rotation by, I believe, that is Brian, who's now going back to the far boost as well. And so that is such a huge just drop off in pressure that allows this ball to be sent to Joler and sent all the way back down. You've harped on it, you've talked about it, and we've seen it time and time again. This is not winning Rocket League, but it's currently kept it at a tie. You allow that team to just kind of get rid of your offensive pressure, you're not going to find too many goals.
I mean, you brought it up first, though. It's this reliance on the full boost as opposed to getting the little ones. What just? Okay, no. Wait, hold on. Hold on. One every stream. You need 1 own goal every stream. That's the rule. I'm going to count that as the own goal. I'm going to be a little bit lenient to the idea of an own goal, but we're going to count that as the own goal. Even though it was a 50, we're going to get it out of our way in the first series, and we're going to move on like it never happened. 2-1 lead.
Listen, I'm always a fan of the own goals because then you can always claim that one in your scorecard because like it's. I used to have a buddy who would claim that he's never on until he scores a goal, and he'd always score on us in the first game in ranked. And like, all right, I'm on now, and it's always the mentality I think people could bring to it.
Well, if you love own goals, you should watch more OCE. That's all I'm saying. Joler now could have cleared across that middle of the field right now and try to set up the actually through the corner. And I love this. I love this so much.
I mean, you talk about it through the corner and then finding that near roller. But again, it's no backboard defense, allowing the ball to roll and giving the shooter free space. You can never do that and leave the near post open. But it's 2-2 tied as both teams jostling for position. And Lick's trying to put in a lead on, but the double being denied. Joler going back high as well. That one sent to row 17. And now Nathan in transition as they swung for the fence and left the bat behind.
I mean, that was just, unfortunate.
That was a goal.
All three players committing. You're going to have that clear back the other way. There's the goal. All right, quick, easy, done. I want to go back to the goal previous to this one.
Go back, all right,
that
rewind.
play through the corner, all right? Because I have been harping on pretty much all through the past two games how Gateway has not been using the corner, not been using the backboard. We finally see Hollidaysburg change their defensive positionings a little bit to accommodate for that, and that's when they find the gap through the corner. That's why I love that last goal so much, because it's sort of, boy who cried wolf almost, and then the wolf finally did show up and they got burned by it. So very, very cheeky, and I do enjoy that. However, to also go further back too, one of the reasons why I feel like Hollidaysburg is so reliant often at rotating all the way back is, again, back to that boost pad thing, and I've been watching them since. It's like they're allergic to the small boost. I've seen them swerve out of the way.
Everyone is, okay? All right, listen, for you folks at home that might not play Rocket League or consider yourself a Rocket League aficionado, I don't care. There are 3 legitimate lanes. I don't have time to draw it, and I don't have the pen to do it. As that's going to be a shot for Brian, as that's left, and he doesn't run the lanes, but you'll see it in the replay.
Okay, yeah, exactly. It's the player who's probably been the most guilty of this who gets this goal, by the way. Does not want to be called out anymore. Does not want you to harp on it. Like, no, look at my goal. See, I'm contributing. And you know what? 2-goal lead. I think Brian may have just pushed us to potentially that game 5.
Well, he's 2 for 2 in this game, and that is putting him in a very solid spot. But you can get a shot here. But there's legitimately a line of boosts going from goal to goal and one on either side of it. You want to make sure you rotate around them because it's a perfect rotational to your opponent's goal in the offensive end. And when you're rotating back, it's a far post. It's right there. And so that is what you want to try and build on, is Joler looking for that near post shot. But that defense, I mean, he shot it straight into the teeth of the defense, kind of daring them to make a save, and it ended up going off to the left anyway.
Every time we start bringing up, like boost rotational paths, Brian's going to be the one who challenges it. Just mark my words, that's going to happen. Nathan now clears it across the middle of the field, read by Licks. And we do get that back and forth being established. Brian, the first player to press forward, but it's a swing and a miss. Haphazard saves the play by crossing up the defenders. The follow-through will be there from Nathan, who pops it up. More importantly, though, even though we're not seeing shooting pressure, we are seeing a defense rotating around, burning boost. They don't have much on this attack, and that means Haphazard should have been able to throw it right back. It was a weaker touch. Brian stayed tight underneath. Joler doesn't care. Joler still gets on the attacking side.
Trying to just do everything that he can. Unfortunately, Nathan has too much in the tank to win. That's a dunk coming over the top of Vic's nose. The ball's still there. Brian collecting this for the hat trick, I believe. Staying perfect now, 3 for 3 in this one.
So Brian has been playing the past 2 minutes further forward than anyone on Hollidaysburg has played all series. They're always looking for that awkward mistouch, always trying to force an awkward defensive error. I would like to see them collect a bit more boost, get some boost ceiling, and actually look for a few more bumps. But positionally, Brian has been absolutely playing a much more improved game as they get another goal by doing the same thing. I'm loving this new Brian.
Well, if you want to know just a small tip from me today, Max, don't trash talk between lobbies. Don't get Brian worked up, because this man has seemingly flipped a switch into answer the call. It's now 6-2, and it's looking more and more likely we're going to see a game 5 with Brian, who is certainly on fire.
Yeah, Brian playing fantastic in this 4th game. Hollidaysburg, 6 goals already. They might find the 7th. unless we can see one last gasp of air out of Gateway. Nope, Nathan's going to steal it away. Has boost to go for the dribble. A bit too much power behind that. Gets it into the corner. Brian, first one to it. Where's the third member? Haphazard was a little bit slow to the play, unfortunately. That's game 4 in the books, and game number 5 between our 4th and 5th seed.
I mean, things are heating up. You said we'd have at least 4. Here we are, game 5.
You know
all knotted up to a piece, Max. Who you got?
I appreciate you giving me that benefit of the doubt right there. I actually heavily implied that this was going to be a 3-0 before. So no, actually no. I always said 5 games. I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, a little bit of brain lag. It's only 6 in the morning.
Who you got? Got the Golden Tigers just coming off a 6-2 win of the Gateway Gators. Coming off of, they are the odd game kings, you know. They're the odd game officers, perhaps? Odd game officials?
It depends what you value more right now. If you like mechanics, if you like the flashiness, you kind of want Gateway. I think you're leaning towards Gateway. If you like the team that's been playing a bit more strategic, I think you would like Hollidaysburg in this situation. And I'm not sure the mechanical skill gap is enough for Gateway to win this. So I'm leaning towards Hollidaysburg. I think they're going to pull this one out.
I have to agree with the recency bias. I mean, obviously a 6-2 game is huge, but the games that they've lost have looked less and less so. And then the win obviously was a 1-0 overtime that can go either way. But when you have that battle-tested team that was at match point, just came back and put a scoring entourage on, they feel a lot more free. But a lot of times you're going to have a team that pushes too hard in the early couple of minutes. And I'm hoping that Hollidaysburg continues the pressure without pushing too far, but they need to be pushing quicker because King Vic was the last thing there between an open net and possibly a quick 1-0 game.
Brian Black still playing very aggressive, very far forward. Nearly
what a save!
Joler able to get underneath it, but look at Brian Black just continuing to attack, continuing to harass that Gateway defense. And ever since they made this adjustment, ever since they were willing to take those risks on the Gateway side of the pitch, there's just been so many more opportunities for Hollidaysburg as they nearly find another one.
I just wanted the communication from Nathan and Black because that is legitimately the best play. Take the 2-on-1, let the dribbler take the pass, but back off, support your teammate. Don't be right under the ball. That was almost picture perfect, but the small miscommunication means we are still 0-0. The defense of Gateway has had 2 incredible saves already, and Hollidaysburg, they have a pair as well, but it's been a quiet 2 saves. And so the first minute goes by, and we're looking. If this was a boxing match, it would suck because both guys are throwing haymakers and no one's landed yet.
Yeah, there's been a lot of close opportunities. The thing, though, that has me concerned has been the lack of consistency from each side at this stage. I think positionally, this has actually been the best series we've seen yet. That angle almost finds its way through. I like Brian just getting that demo saying, no, we're not having this again. Has to follow it up themselves. Haphazard is underneath,
but
isn't needed because Brian will go themselves. 1-0 lead for Hollidaysburg.
I thought Joler ran out of boost, but he had 100. He just didn't put enough to get there. And so thinking he had enough momentum to get into the air, it goes right over him. 129 seconds off the clock, and the team that just won by 4 is now up by 1 in game 5.
It's single elimination game 5 playoffs, right? You're going to see some sloppy play. You're going to get some unforced errors. You don't want to see it coming from Joler, however, who has been the rock that Gateway has relied on right now. Joler, cooler heads need to prevail right now. Those mistakes are going to cost this team. Hopefully Joler will be able to bring it back because I want to see this one get as tight as possible.
I mean, still only a singular goal here, Max Formo. That's a shot coming on, but Nathan again denying that, and it's going back off the backboard. He is the only player on that entire field, but with no boost to catch up with it, he couldn't find the shot, so it's just a possession game, and he's still on this ball. I mean, he is just walking it around this half as no one has been able to contest him until it finally is relinquished, and Joler credited with a shot and saved by none other than Nathan.
Yeah, Nathan's been doing a great job almost spying on Joler. It feels like whenever Joler gets a touch, Nathan has just happened to be there straight away. As Nathan now is going to try to play off that backboard. Joler, though, should be able to follow through. Double commit, open net, and we have a tie ball game.
I was watching the long end and wondering what Haphazard was thinking being this deep, and then he starts cheating up. I'm like, okay, he wants to play up in the third, and then both him and Brian go for this ball. There's no one home at all, and Joler just was like a rattlesnake waiting to strike.
Yeah, that was fantastic read right there by Joler, capitalizing on the positional mistake, and I'm going to call that a communicational mistake, and one that happens, again, Game 5 single elimination, right? Like, this is more pressure than I think a lot of these students have probably faced in their Rocket League careers. This is an important game for them. So to have it come down to the final 2 minutes, still tied, every touch, it's got to be as perfect as you can make it. But keep mindful of that sloppy play. I actually feel like in these situations, be conservative, wait for the mistake, and then look to pounce.
See, I'm very much on the different end. I don't want to play slow. I want to go and push. And so it's going to be opposing mindsets to see who wants to either step forward and try and take and force the mistake, or who is going to step over and make a mistake and leave that door open for the opponent. Both teams jostling now as they try and find that mark.
Hold on. Just because you're playing more conservative and trying to force mistakes doesn't necessarily mean that, like, well, you're not trying to force mistakes. What I'm talking about is just more that solid contact on the ball. Don't do anything fancy with it. As long as you're making contact, and that's priority number one, you're going to be in good position. Now, where that is on the field, that's up for you. Brian likes to make those touches in the forward third. Joler likes to then punish them for it. That was a great dunk, and now there's an opening for Licks. Nathan does enough for the save.
Oh, man, that is a perfect one. He did a great job of stopping up with him breaking all the way on the ball. It means his teammate now has to dunk it over him. So now Nathan catching it on his own end once again. He's got it up in the air. He's got another touch, a second and third to be pushed over. That's off the backboard. Brian, though, just a bit too far forward, and Haphazard going aggressively towards it, but not going into that Z-axis as he does not jump into the air. Nathan clearing it towards his side wall. Brian Black catching this one and trying to make something work. Yep. That's going to go in. No way, right?
Way too much space. No one challenged Brian that entire dribble up the middle of the field. You can see Kingfisher was facing the wrong way when was able to take it past that midfield line. Very unfortunate. Gateway just not prepared, and Brian may have just won the game.
King Vix and Licks, there was a miscommunication, a breakdown on who was needing the challenge. With no challenge, Brian has already demonstrated if he is hot, this game could be theirs. And he's got one on Joler, though, wants to find one in response. Licks off the side wall here, trying to get something going. The ball falling back down at the midfield line. Joler, back pass, that's stolen by Nathan. Haphazard wants to put this one away, but that one goes up too far right. That would have been the nail in the coffin, but now 10 seconds left to play. A triple commit on the side of Gateway. They need one, and Licks has got it. He slow flicks it over, and Haphazard couldn't get the goal, but has the dunk to put it away, and Hollidaysburg able to pull it out 3-2.
I find it so fascinating that Gateway comes into the series as the more aggressive team, as the faster team, as the one more willing to take challenges, yet the fatal mistake that knocks them out of this event was hesitation with Brian Black pushing it down the middle untouched. And Brian Black and Hollidaysburg, the adjustments they would make mid-game, mid-series throughout this, that's what realistically put themselves ahead. They were able to change their look, change their approach on the fly, something that, as I mentioned before, the best Rocket League teams can struggle with. And eventually, they found that winning approach. You know, keep Brian up close, keep Brian tight, let Brian be that nuisance against the Gateway defense, and eventually opportunities will come. Fantastic job from Hollidaysburg, a series well-deserved.
Well, I got to say, Formula, it's not even just Rocket League. Rocket League, it's nigh impossible because there's not a halftime, but even team sports that have halftimes, teams don't adapt very well. And so you talked about it in game one. Hollidaysburg, they got run over in the first 2.5 minutes and had to do something. And it was a very much kind of a rebuilding, regaining, and taking that deep breath. And okay, this is what we need to do. Let's try this, this, and this. Okay, that didn't work. Let's finish it in game two. Taking it all the way to overtime and winning that game, that was the pivotal point in this whole series.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the very, very few times where I've seen a 4-0 and walked away from that first game and being like, you know, I actually think the team with the 0 goals probably has the advantage in this series. Yep. I think they got this. And to see them able to build back, I'm not trying to like harp too much, I suppose, on like the age demographics of this, but like to be able to find that resolve in a high school league on top of everything else, which is one of the skills that is essentially being taught, like just like you would see in traditional sports, you'll see in esports, finding that resolve, finding a way to fight back through adversity. Losing a game 4-0 in a best of 5 in a game like Rocket League, where games are kind of fast action like that, and bouncing back, that takes a lot of that resolve word. So really, really well done. Super impressed with the Hollidaysburg side. And for Gateway, I have to still say battle well fought, because they never really rolled over. They stayed with it. They also would try to do different adjustments, different looks. They just were not successful on this day.
I don't think not successful is the best term. I think at points they were incredibly successful, but I think, I'll be honest, Max, I don't know if how much you looked into that chat window. I think they overlooked a bit after winning big a couple times, and they got complacent. And it's a harsh lesson, and it sucks. But I, as a coach, I love to be able to talk to teams and my guys after it. And I'm like, look, you don't want this to happen again. It's now up to you. Can you come back and make this your season next time you get a chance? But Max Formal, my guy, have some kind of disappointing news.
Uh-oh.
The second series between Somerset and Berlin Brothersvalley will not be being played because there has been a forfeit by Berlin Brothersvalley. That means Somerset is moving on. And so the next match is going to actually be Forest Hills going up against Bishop Carroll, which we're going to be seeing on the other side of a very short break. So Twitch chat, make sure you stay right where you are, because we'll be back in a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Hoof. I'm still joined in the booth by the man, the myth, the legend. It's Max Formal, and we are here on the opposite side of that break, getting ready to bring you more TEC High School League action.
Yeah, I'm keen. If that
we went to five. We went to five. I got one today.
I mean, there's only been a handful of the series that go the distance so far for this event. In fact, I think that was the third overall. I think so. We had one last week. There was one between Forest Hills and Gateway as well. I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, Forest Hills, Gateway, and Hollidaysburg, like they've been involved in some way, I think, with all of these right now, because it's Forest Hills, Gateway.
So these are the battle tested teams.
Hollidaysburg, and then it's Hollidaysburg, Gateway.
Okay. Well, you talk about that Forest Hills team, and that's one of the teams you're going to be seeing here. We got Forest Hills coming in, chilling at that, I believe, I don't want to be wrong. Yes, it is the number 3 seed playing against those Huskies in the 6th seed. So you have to wonder, number 3 versus number 6, obviously leaning towards that Forest Hills squad, and they 3-0'd the last time these two teams played, but it's playoffs. You know, a lot of things can be very different as you get into this win and go on system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just take a look at our last series, kind of, for example. That one was a 3-0 the last time those two teams played. Hollidaysburg did win it then, just like they kind of won it this time around, but it was a lot much closer of a fight.
Had to sweat on that one.
Yeah, Bishop Carroll might be bringing that fight to Forest Hills this time around. Definitely do not want to write off that Bishop Carroll side. Unfortunately, though, for looking at momentum coming into this, it hasn't looked too good for Bishop Carroll. The last time they won a game, and I'm not talking about a series, I'm talking about a game, was in week 2, which, well, they did win that series, as it turns out. But since then, it's been all unfortunate forfeits or goose eggs. But because they've been forfeits, it makes it a lot harder to kind of make a read where this team actually sits.
And I think, you know what, we're going to see where that coin lands, because, you know, you can't hide forever, and the lights really can't get much brighter. And I'll say, I want to start with the team we have in number 3 seed, bringing in this triage of players representing Forest Hills. Now, you said you haven't seen much of Division 1, but have you heard of a man called Pig Beast?
I have now. I did watch the series last week, all right? So I watched Forest Hills versus Hollidaysburg, and I watched Penn Trafford versus Berlin, Brothersvalley, and yeah. It's interesting because Pig Beast might have been the big name, but if I recall, last week it was actually Vaco who was stepping up.
It was, which is why this team is so fun to watch, because early in the season it was all Pig B. It was the Pig B show, but now if you see these other cars on your screen, Hotshot and Vaco have stepped up, as well as I believe it is Mega Blaziken who is playing as well. He's not in here today, but part of this team has played incredibly solid in the back half, forming what looked to be 2 players riding behind a mechanically skilled, very solid star, to now a team playing around them and making that teamwork work even better. But looking at the side of Bishop Carroll, you have Kintori, you have Lukey, and you have Elite Nova. And you said it, man. They are going to have to do a lot of good here and kind of shake that trend of having a rough start and a rough season.
Yeah, from what I remember from their series last week in particular against Gateway, against Somerset, they never really got off that rough start, and they played a lot of defense
very much
in that series, and unfortunately that's not going to win you some Rocket League games. So the big thing that I'm looking forward in this lineup of Kintori, Lukey, and Elite Nova, I want to see them be a bit more aggressive when challenging for their own boost. I want them to see a bit more proactive with their first defensive touches and trying to find ways to get it to a teammate or yourself for that crucial second touch, and maybe find a few more openings on goals. Now, it is playoff Rocket League. Nerves are going to come into play. I don't expect a perfect game from either side. You just have to be in position to capitalize when your opponents make those mistakes.
I think the biggest thing that Bishop Carroll needs to do in the very starting stages is have a consistent rotation. That is all I ask. Start with that. The touches will come naturally, and make sure to communicate where you are, because Pig B and company, they are going to test you in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's going to be a team attack. Sometimes it's going to be Pig B just launching it down the field like he does off the backboard, you know?
The one thing you were asking for, and it took 10 seconds until it fell apart. And I feel so bad, but it was the double commit with the player overextended on the opposite side of the field. But silver lining, they didn't get punished for it. They were able to rotate back in time, find the save, control the ball once again. Not all hope is lost. That's the miss. Now you got to capitalize. Lukey, no!
What?
Backflip. Feels backflip, bro.
Oh. Well, you know, that's how we start. A miscue at midfield and a backflip on the backboard, and still nothing really coming of it the first 45 seconds. That's a pass to Pig B. Pig B climbs the ladder and looking for a second touch here, but with no boost, he is unable to find just that hot shot, running away from that offensive pressure from Bishop Carroll. And right now, I'll say, I expected Forest Hills to be a little bit further ahead, at least on the shots at this point in the game. And right now, Bishop Carroll doing a very solid job of keeping it awkward for this team in blue.
I want to say this right now at risk of a terrible pun. Reset, double, no, not quite there. Vaco misses as well, and that will set up hot shot. Just pushed it a bit too high. Pigbeast fell back for the mid boost, and now we'll look to follow it up. It's going to look for a read off the backboard, and is there. That's the double touch. That's the Pigbeast from this half of the season, and that's a 1-0 lead.
I mean, it's just the soft touch there collecting off the backboard. A lot of players will rush to the ball and not let it come to them. It's that happy bouncing point, not being too quick, not being too slow, but in the right place at the right time. And 90 seconds in the upper 90 seems to be the right place in the right time.
Yeah, and it's a very fortunate goal that they found. I find it interesting, though, because it's very similar to what we saw from the last series, where it's the more mechanical team. Yes, their mechanics are bailing them out, but there's a lot of decision-making that I'm not entirely happy with coming from Forest Hills right now. As we see, look at that, the rule 1 as Big Beast gets the goal.
They don't deserve it. They broke the rule. Yeah, you can't have a rule 1 with teammates. That'd be messed up. But no, they run into a rule 1. That's the pass out to Big B. And so how about the pre-goal celebration? Is that going to be a penalty?
Yeah. It's kind of highlighting the point that I was just trying to make. Like, the decision-making, the rotational play from the team, it's not very good right now. They have a lot of time to turn it around, so we're not going to judge entirely based on that. But Pig Beast has just been bailing them out. Pig B is having a fantastic opening to this series. And how long can you rely on one player? That's going to be my question moving forwards.
I mean, they did it for multiple weeks at the beginning of the season. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to ride. That star striker is Lukey with the first real opportunity from Bishop Carroll. As I mean, they technically have 2 other shots on the board, but that was the first real one that could have been something dangerous, but immediately saved once again by Hotshot with a savior medal already on that Octane. Now he's going to try and find some offensive plays here. The ball at midfield. Lukey can't get there, so Pigby opting to do it himself. Has it up and over 1, wants a double to keep it down, and I like the idea, but the angle just a hair off.
I'm not going to be too critical of missing that one. That's a very difficult shot, and I love the fact that they went for it. On a similar notion, though, Hotshot kind of needs to cool down a little bit. Been seeing a lot of overcommits, a lot of whiffs right now coming from that player, and if we're going to see more solid rotations from Forest Hills and more team play, that's the player who I'm looking to sort of step up, because as soon as I think the rest of Forest Hills kind of falls in line a little bit more, gets their rotations, gets those consistent touches, this team is going to look like one of the favorites of this tournament, where they should be at that number 3 seed.
That's a pass off the sidewall once again. That's a double commit there coming from Vaco and Hotshot, and so no real control means no real offensive pressure. A demo 01, but Pig B is there in response. He just baits the defender up. Now he's getting it up and over to the second and beating the third with the touch. Pig B with a hat trick on this one.
Yep, and again, it's the individual effort making it work, slowing it down, finding the flick over the third defender, and a little bit of an assist from Elite Nova just to make sure that goes in at that 52 km/h mark. Well done from the Forest Hill player, and unfortunately for Bishop Carroll, they're just getting beaten out by one very experienced, I'd say, you know, on the cusp of
double triple.
Semi-pro. Was that a triple?
It was. Watch. Count it here. You get a touch to put it up high. Air dribble self, and then it goes off the backward, 1, 2, and then a third touch up and over the defender.
It was a
technically the fourth is the dunk. It went backboard, crossbar, Dominus, goal. And that's another one. Okay, no, good job, Gintori.
Yeah, Pig Beast is going to be one of those players that you're going to have to find ways to either get in their head or just get them away from the play as much as possible at this stage. And if that involves, you know, turning a Rocket League player into a bludger, go for it. Just hunt him down. Just batter them around. You got to find something, because Pigby on their own has taken this game completely in their own hands.
I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but it's something we have seen before on this channel by this team, and they're all for it. They want to feed their man. They want to feed the pig beast, as per se, and he's 4 for 4, continuing to put pressure on. I mean, it's the bump to open it, but immediately he's just so. I hate to say this in a way, but he's just a lot quicker than most other cars on the field, just understanding the momentum, conserving it well, and now catching it off the backboard for another one. It's 5-0.
And it's the experience factor that's coming into play more so than anything else in these types of situations. And again, high school leagues, you're going to get this even when we get to the playoffs. There's going to be a couple players in this who are very experienced, very knowledgeable in the game, and they're going to know how to punish you for your every little mistake. So in a lot of ways, this is probably going to turn into a great learning experience for Bishop Carroll coming up against Pig B while they're playing in this form. And it's good to kind of keep that mindset moving forwards. Unfortunately, in the playoffs, any application from what you're going to learn from this as a team, you're going to have to wait till next season to possibly put it into use, assuming that this continues as it is. But credit where it's due right now. Pig B,
there
under
it is.
pressure.
Oh, he missed!
Phased at all. Yep, okay. We're excited because of an awkward miss when the score is already 5-0. You know you had a strong game.
Well, that is, I mean, it's just proving that Pig B is not a robot. He's not perfect. Goes 5 for 6 instead of 6 for 6.
You know what?
But off the back of 2 assists, and Hotshot, who had an outstanding defensive performance.
House rules, every shot Pig B misses is actually a goal taken away.
Okay.
So that's 4-0. Not 5-0.
Okay.
Still has a hat trick +1, right? I mean, so you're still fine, still get the win, but yeah. You miss a shot like that, you lose a goal. Sorry, them's the rules.
That's a heck of an angle to start deducting points on there, Formal. I mean, I would have a negative goal differential if I had to make all those shots like that. Woo!
That's why the best approach is to never take shots at all. That's my strategy in Rocket League, and it works sometimes, maybe not in ones. But we win on occasion.
Listen, man, and once you just blame your non-existent teammate. At least that's what I do, Man, where was my teammate? That was a perfect pass midfield. But perfect passes midfield weren't exactly what Forest Hills had, as they did have 2 assists, but the other 3 being unassisted by Pig V. And it's just, again, let your player play, and it is working right now. This well-oiled machine of Forest Hills have, I don't want to say fallen, but more hearkening back to their early season predecessor of a squad. And I'm hoping to see them get back into that team form, because when you play as a team, even if you have that incredibly solid and incredibly mechanical player, the team itself is so much more difficult to beat.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that one. And I'm going to be super curious watching Hotshot and Vaco to see how they're going to open up doorways for Pig B. And this is a great start. I like that pass. Kentori was there for the save, don't get me wrong. But I want to see more from that coming from Vaco, coming from Hotshot, looking to set Pig B up in places and situations where they'll be allowed to find those gaps. And, well, that one I think was more Pig B finding the dream touch, and they go the distance, 1-0 lead.
I love the whole idea is that Pig B literally took it off of both of his teammates because he knew he was in control. And look, folks, he's running down the midfield line of Boost. Didn't have Boost in the first lane. Kept the momentum with a power slide. Got the 12, and that is more than enough than he needed. So small boosts are important too. Dang it, Formal.
I also think there's a speed flip in the middle of that as well. That was so quick down the middle of the pitch right there. Pig B. And yes, I'm saying speed flip, not a side flip. That one was a proper speed flip, so they know what they're doing on this pitch right now.
The pinch?
Vaco going for the pinch. Okay. I am curious. Do you think Vaco was just going for the ball and just called pinch at the last second when they realized Pig B was
That's what I do all the time, and Pig B is just going to put it in.
Dude, fake. I am the master of fakes and team pinches, right? Like, all the time.
Well, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix. Continue setting up your man and letting him score. 2 for 3 in this game. This time coming off of the assist from Vaco. The team pinch. It legitimately was a spark to start that fire of offense. And Pig B, I don't even think he jumped.
He didn't.
That whole time. Okay, he jumped for the kickoff.
I guess, but like on the shot, no, just kind of drove right into it because, I mean, that's what you do when you see the defender commit high. You try to keep it as low as possible and get it underneath. Wasn't really needed because at that stage, Lukey had already played too far forward and unfortunately hit a teammate on the side. It almost looked Three Stooges-esque, which is not a look you want when playing defense for Bishop Carroll, but strong players will do that to you. And it's not saying, necessarily that Bishop Carroll is playing a poor game right now. They just haven't been able to match the pace and the mechanics of one player, and it's been keeping them held back.
And I don't want to say it in real. I don't know how to say it any way. It is just a talent hole right now.
Experience.
It is mechanically on Pig B that is continuing to extend this game, because this team in blue is a lot more comfortable. When the ball goes up higher, they're able to chase it. They're very solid in tracking it. They're using the backboard well. They're playing with their teammates incredibly well. It's at least on that back half of the defensive side. On the offensive side, it's, step back and let Pig B do work. And it really shows.
I love watching these younger mechanical players as well, like being told on the grapevine, possibly a freshman this year. And I can't help but think, and I got to get my one OC reference in, right? I can't help but think Pioneers in situations like this. The team that's made up entirely of 15 and 16-year-olds that were known as being this hyper-aggressive, hyper-mechanical team within the OC region. And they found success kind of paving their own style, and oftentimes overlooked because of their age, OCE being a region that's kind of been dominated by dinosaurs. So it was a great, refreshing breath of fresh air. And then I see, more young players coming through the high school scene like Pig B. And I said, this is semi-professional level. That shot nearly going in right there would have been amazing as well. And I'm going to stand by that. If you can play this consistently with this high mechanics, build a team around it, like find other players, similar mindset, you can have a real solid thing going for you. Now, obviously, OCE is a little bit different than NA, and we value things like mechanics a lot more than team play sometimes. It's just what it is. But I still, it's always fun to watch these types.
I think the biggest thing here is, especially when you talk about high school athletics and players starting to really show themselves, you need to also realize, I want to see what Pig B looks like in a lobby with players just like him. Can he continue to show that dominance? Can he continue to see? Because that's a dunk coming on. Vaco can't get there, and that's Kintori putting one on, making us look at Bishop Carroll as they are 1 for 1 in this game.
Yeah, Kintori finding that dunk and turning it into a goal. Vaco tries to commit, but just winds up a little bit underneath. And we finally get our first goal of the series for the side in Bishop Carroll. So maybe a little bit too early to write them off entirely. We'll see where they can go from here. Elite Nova with a chance. Hot shot doesn't corral it, but Elite Nova misses as well.
Neither one corralling that one. That ball was left to roam the midfield until Pig B just wanted to get it going for a little bit and backed off. Lukey out in front, back into the corner once again, has the boost, but gets bumped away from the ball, so it does not get to have his cake, only got to eat it. And so Pig B looking for Vaco. It's a 2v2 power play here, and that is a beautiful push from Lukey, understanding that possession and position on the field of having 3 defenders versus the 2 offensive players.
No, it's actually 3 offensive players just off camera. The third one was stealing boost away, so that was a very dire situation for Forest Hills. Fortunate they were able to recover that when the third defender got in front of the ball. However, that's what happens when you're stealing the boost away. Those counterattacks often aren't going to be that fast. I love that pass. Pig B puts it right in Vaco's lap. Unfortunately, Vaco isn't going to find the shot right there. To go back to a previous point, though, I'm with you, though. I want to see what happens when you get Pig B in one of those competitive lobbies where everyone is playing at that same skill level, because I want to know if they're able to turn these mechanics that we're seeing into team plays, into passes. We kind of got a hint of it earlier before. Unfortunately, Vago wasn't able to find that shot, but a lot of times with these mechanical players, that is that next step. How can you use these mechanics to help the team as much as you sort of help your own individual plays? That's a miss and a goal. Lukey jumps on it, and we got a 1-goal game.
Oh, Kintori was the one to put the first one in this time, and making the pass that snuck right behind the defender of Vaco, and blink and you miss it. It's now a 1-goal game with 20 seconds left to be found.
Here we go. 23 seconds, do or die situation for Bishop Carroll. Cannot afford to go 2 games down, not in a best of 5. They have to get it off Pig B first, who is just going to control that ball straight through the middle of the field. Double commit by the defense, but they find that clearing touch. Final 10 seconds, Lukey waiting underneath. Looks to play through the corner. It's a swing and a miss, but here comes the double commit. No, that's not what you mean. It's an open field, but they don't find the pass to Pig B. Vaco takes it themselves. It doesn't matter. Time runs down to 0, and the last goal goes in favor of Forest Hills. They now have the 2-0 lead.
And that is how this game will end. It's Vaco to Pig B. Once again, the collection that we've seen time and time again throughout the season. And Forest Hills, once again on the back of a very strong offense, able to take another.
Strong offense, strong player. We have to do our math, though. And I've got some disturbing news. 3 missed shots, subtract 3 goals. Bishop Carroll wins 2-1, right? Right?
Unfortunately, no. No, that's not how this went.
Oh, well, yeah, no,
unfortunately. Yeah.
I guess, you know, you get a 3-point bonus for a hat trick, and that makes up for the 3 points that were missed or taken away.
Yeah, and it's currently sitting at Forest Hills now 2-0 above Bishop Carroll. And Bishop Carroll outside looking in, they need to find a win, and they have to do it now, because if they don't, this series is over. And I'll be honest, it's going to be very hard to wrestle the controls away from Pig B and company.
But we saw a little bit of the blueprint on how to do it on the second half of that game, right? I know we were kind of talking about other things. Eyes were still focused, and whenever they got the ball away from the side of the field that Pig B was on, and an unforced error was made, they had a player there to punish it, and that's kind of has to be the answer right now. You have to play keep away from the star player, and then rely on those mistakes, because Vaco and Hotshot, they're not playing consistent Rocket League right now, unfortunately. They are going to leave some windows open for you, and as long as you can put yourself in position to jump on it when it happens, you can get yourself within a 1-goal game, and then anything can go down.
Well, here we are, Hotshot and company, prepping that green of Forest Hills, and you have... I believe that's Lukey with a chance. That one's going high, but Elite Nova too far away, but Kentori playing the janitorial role and have all 3 cars in the white and blue ready to score.
Lukey almost saved that opener. Almost saved it, but that's all right.
Teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right? And a 1-0 lead, Bishop Carroll needing the reverse sweep. It's as big as a dream as we've ever seen right now, and it's a good start in accomplishing it.
That's a pass attempt here from Vaco, but with no real power. Just falls just short of the goal line and of the backboard itself. Nova can't even get the 50 as Pig B has already beat him. Kentori passed that striker, but Hotshot is there. Hotshot has looked at times a bit out of place on the offensive end, but had 3 saves in that first game and is very, very sure of themselves on that backboard and on that defensive line. And so we'll continue to see them there as Vaco has a near post play, but lost that boost in transition and is unable to find that near post shot.
Doesn't get the goal this time around. Lukey will clear it back up the other side, burning all that boost to stay with it through the corner. And it pays off as Elite Nova now has a chance to set things up. Backward read from Pig B. Doesn't find that second touch. This could lead to the opening. Kentori doesn't quite beat Vaco to the strike. Hotshot now looking to slow it down, and that's going to cause more attackers to play it forward. Elite Nova, awkward touch. Pig B 2v1 loses out to Elite Nova. Vaco will corral it through the corner. I'm liking this more aggressive posturing right now coming from Bishop Carroll. They're not afraid to play a bit further forward, and they're actually doing a good job keeping Forest Hills back.
And they are doing a very solid job of challenging at, I want to say varying times, because at times they'll find it immediately on the ball, and other times they'll challenge right when it comes off of the car. And so they're keeping Forest Hills in this kind of wondering state of, when are we going to have a challenge? That might have been 3 cars up. I mean, Pig B just collects it.
Oh my goodness, I love this play. All the defenders bite, expecting him to eventually just start playing it forward, and he just kept going up and up and up.
I mean, it was just go-go gadget boost as he just pushed the ball to the ceiling, caught it, bounced it off the ground, saved the flip, reset it, and kept going. And then is able to tie this game up. And you know what? It's not a dunk, but it feels like a dunk per se in basketball, as that just kind of put it all the way on that momentum on the side of Forest Hills.
That's the dunk that you pull off, though, in the dunk competition. Like, that was straight up a freestyle shot right there. That was beautiful. I have my new favorite goal of the stream. It's Pig B going to space.
Pig B going to space, or a Pig B just actually visually representing freeform jazz in the other team's net as he just set his own tempo. Could be a shot going towards his own net. There is no real pressure because Hotshot had nothing in the tank and was just awkward. A golden opportunity, but it was just chaos and unable to be taken advantage of. Pig B Vaco instead. The octanes threw me off. I'm used to the car switches. It's the old... Yep, the old wedge, though, gets the old 9-iron out and chips it up and over the defense.
Goal scored, not Pig B. I'd be confused, too. Yeah, Vaco,
brain broken.
I can't blame you for that. My brain's been broken since the start of the first game, all right? We're running on crutches. Oh, Pigby! Almost guessed that angle, doesn't quite put it through. Still 2 minutes left in this, still in it with a fighting chance. Bishop Carroll, if they're going to bounce it back right now, again, we have to see more of those unforced errors. Unfortunately, Vaco, at the very least, seems to have woken up a bit more from what we've seen from the first 2 games. A lot more ball and car control, seeing right now, making all the defenders miss, and Pigby will put it through, but give the credit to the man with the VA KO.
Listen, there are 5 cars in this moment of the screen, and Pigby is legitimately the only other person who did not go towards that ball and just, yeah, I'll take that, I guess, and makes it a 3-1 scoreline here in game number 3 as Forest Hills looks to put this series away.
I mean, you're right. There's 5 players around that ball, but only one of them was touching it. It was all Vaco setting it up, and that's difficult to do. Amidst chaos, finding that consistent control. Wow, powerful pass off of the challenge, and now Hotshot might have gotten their first goal of the series, except the crossbar got in the way.
I love that push from Hotshot, though, just willing to take that air roll pressure and try and find it off the backboard. That is a confident play coming from a player who has not been too confident on the offensive end, and you know what? There's that man again, finding another one and finding another hat trick in this series.
This is an unfortunate game for the defense of Bishop Carroll to fall apart. And I know, like, the scorelines haven't been necessarily too favorable to the team in red, but for the most part throughout this series, defensively, they had been consistent. They've been finding those touches, and it's been forcing innovation to kind of beat them out. But over the past couple minutes, we're starting to see, I think, the mental finally be broken, recognizing the direness of their situation. It's not looking good for Bishop Carroll. They're going to have to dig deep at this stage of the game if they're going to bring it back.
I mean, 62 seconds left. You got to find 3, and I don't think they've scored 3 in the entire series, and you're gonna have to find another one as Pigby has the flip underneath of the ball, just kind of cradled it the whole way to the back of the net.
I love this too, because any lower and Elite Nova makes that save. Pigby had to draw that line exactly there to turn that into the goal, and it's now a 5-1 lead, 55 seconds remaining. I've seen it happen once before. I don't know if it's going to happen today, however.
I mean, it would have to be a monumental comeback attempt because, I mean, it's now 5 goals and Pigby just, they have air superiority. I mean, they have just secured it in front of both nets, and Pigby able just to continue with the flip reset and self-let up, man.
Okay, so we were talking about this like off stream, right? And how some players just make some games look so easy, and it's not fair for the rest of us. Pigby's ability to find a reset with every single aerial touch, it's not fair. He makes it look too easy. Like, to learn how to reset can take multiple years of playing this game, practice, and learning. Like, the amount of time, effort, and training that they have put in this game to be rewarded in these types of situations, like, hats off to them. It's fantastic stuff, and it's why you practice, it's why you grind, it's why you're always looking for that self-improvement, and it's great to see it rewarded.
Well, it's rewarded here with a 6-1 scoreline and what should become a 3-0 scoreline, barring anything absolutely insane. Now, no, he's not going to be taking a trip to South America. It's Hotshot denied by the woodwork once again. Vaco putting it on Pigby. Stoicism sitting at the goal line, letting that one fall, and the Green Octane squad of Forest Hills 3-0 over the top Bishop Carroll.
Yeah, and you know, as much as that kind of turned into the Pigby exhibition, there are other things we can learn from this game. The improvement from Vaco between games 1 and 2 and game 3 and getting more involved. Bishop Carroll finding game 2 opportunities to actually punish mistakes and get some goals in for themselves. They even did it in that third game at one occasion. It's hard not to get caught up in the glitz and the glamour of the player pulling off triple touches, dunks, and double resets, and whatever that ceiling straight up shot was before. But when you look at the other 5 players on this field, they all had their highs and lows as well. For Bishop Carroll, unfortunately, their journey does end here. It was a rough showing overall for the squad when their defense fell apart at the end, but I do hope that they learned a lot from this event and they come back next season stronger.
Well, the big thing is there, you said it, next season. It's a learning experience here, Formal. And when you have players, especially in high school, you don't always get in an esports fashion that learning experience of playing teams that may be better than you mechanically or maybe better than you team wise. And so it's just that learning experience of having that sour taste in your mouth or that victory at the end of the season and being able to learn from it and then come back and find a way to push on.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to be excited to see how these teams do look to grow, because that is something which will happen. The more these teams play, the more these teams practice, the more these players start to gel, get their communication down,
Get
find that
mixing.
proper balance as well with their school, with their, recreational use. It's all of these things that have to be applied to build that sort of complete team. And dare I say, even from a lot of these other teams that found successes today, they still have areas where they can improve as well. As great as Bigby was, the rest of that team, I still feel like they can learn how to play sort of around their player a little bit more, act more as that supporting role, or even at times be more of that carry role. I saw at the end they were trying to give Hot Shot that goal. They got close.
They
Maybe next
tried.
time they'll be able to put it through.
And it was just trying to make sure that they got everything to work. And you saw we got to talk about it a bit beforehand. Team play usually is king, and team play will be the key for a team that wants to win it all. But that was our quarterfinals for Rocket League. Our semis will be taking for Division 1 and 2 will be happening on April 26th, starting at 3:30. Whereas we have quarterfinals for Overwatch Division 1 and Division 2 starting tomorrow here at the Esports Company, and Division 2 taking place at, I believe that's TEC High School League. So make sure you are there to check those out. And, make sure you follow this handsome fellow over here. He is awesome. And I got to say, has been a blast to work with and a blast to watch as well. Make sure you stay in touch with him. My name is Foof. This has been Max Formal, and we will be catching you guys next time.